So please give a huge Canadian welcome. She is from Canton, Michigan, Gold Circle, Independent National Sales Director, Dawn Otten-Sweeney.
You,
Wow, you
everyone.
guys.
Thank you. I wish we were all sitting in a room together because that always makes it so much better. But I do love technology for these reasons because I wouldn't get to see all of you. And you hear from those accolades. That's why I started, is for the accolades, but that's not why I've stayed. And I've stayed for just this. In retrospect, things get real clear, right? That post-dated check, which some of you may not know what it is because it's illegal now, but it meant you didn't have money in your account. And so you had to get money in the account before the check cleared. And so I obviously needed this for income, but I didn't realize that I needed it for so much more. And now on the other side of my career with a couple more years left before I emeriti, I what I want to do is leave Mary Kay with what I promised her. Batons passed. Pass it on. That's what she always told us, pass it on. And so in this next like 6 month time period and our 3 Zoom times together, I want to make sure that all of you leave this 6 months knowing what the it's are that are critical for this company to continue on for the next 60 plus years. But congratulations to all of you that were recognized. But know if you weren't, it doesn't matter. What matters is the choices that you make from when you leave here. And you're going to be given action items to do, and they're not anything crazy. Because what I have found in my 39 years, especially after the pandemic, is that more has stayed the same than changed. Although, with how fast some changes seem to be happening, you may not really believe that, but I'm hoping by the end you do believe and embrace that because this group of women, you are pioneering legacy trained leaders. Canada was started by Anne Newberry, Barbara Sundin. Those are women who I sat at their feet and was trained by. That is your DNA. And so, just like with some families, if people haven't taught you what your family heritage is, you don't know. So, the 5 consultants that got picked to be on with every director, congratulations. In some way, shape, or form, that leader sees something in you that she feels that this is going to be a valuable investment into. And I encourage you in this 6 months, if you don't know right now why you're in Mary Kay, that will become clear. And if you don't have a future picture of what that's about, ask God, why am I here? What do you need me to know about that? Because he's happy to share that with you. And for the leaders, I hope that you leave this like encouraged, like we've got this. You are the women in Mary Kay that is going to be passing it on after women like me have to retire as a national. If you're called to be a national, please be a national ASAP. But if that you've aged out or you don't feel led to do that, you still can build 20 directors. And directors or consultants, if you don't want to be a director, that's fine. You still can have 30 people on your team. Mary Kay pays you handsomely to pass this opportunity on as a consultant or a director. So, something I wanted to start with, which may be a new thought to you. My husband played football at the University of Michigan, which in the States is a big deal. His coach was Bo Schembechler, which actually reminds me a lot of Mary Kay Ash, just classic old school coaching. And we were watching in June, it was girls, I think softball. I always get mixed up. They play baseball or softball. I think girls play softball, but excuse me if it's the wrong ball that I'm saying, but it's bat with the bat and the ball that the girls play. And Kentucky was supposed to win, and the pitcher was doing horrible, had just lost 2 games. And after those 2 games, the sportscaster said, she just came back out there and just won the 3rd game. Like, what, coach, what did you tell her? And she goes, I asked her, what's going on? Like, you're the best pitcher in the country. Like, you're supposed to be taking this in for the championship. And the young woman said, I'm doing my best, coach. And the coach said, you know what? Your best is not good enough right now. Your team is depending on you. The alumni is depending on you. Your scholarship is dependent on this. And so if your best isn't good enough, what do you have to change? And as soon as I heard that, like as a leader, I'm like, oh my gosh, it's June. I want to say that to my directors right now. Like, if your best isn't good enough, what do you need to do? But I've learned that when God points something out to me, before I say it to someone else, I acknowledge that there's three fingers pointing back at me. And I applied it to myself for 90 days, which I'm going to encourage you to do. And it's amazing when you start saying, if my best isn't good enough, versus saying, I'm doing my best, I'm doing all I can, I'm trying. If my best isn't good enough, it actually gives God space to drop in ideas, to give you encouragement, to clarify the vision. When you're saying, I'm doing my best, basically it's a victim statement. You can't, like, why is he going to give you any ideas? He may not. So I encourage you to go in. Mary Kay always talked about attitude. She said the only thing that can hold you back is the 6 inches between your ears. And that is so, so true. So we're going to have 6 months together. So we have 3 of these sessions, another one in January, another one in April. I have put together a board, which may be a new thing to you, but I don't really know how it works. I just paid my assistant to figure it out because it's something in the States we're using a lot, because you can condense all the handouts in one handy little click. So everything that I mentioned today is going to be on the board. So you're not going to have to worry about, like, I want you to absorb this and I want you to think and take down notes, but you're going to have all these resources at your fingertip. And then when I do the second session, I will add on, etc., until you have a whole catalog of resources to use. Much of this is going to look very familiar for those who've been in a long time. But this, I'm looking at this 6 months as like an immersion into foundational classic Mary Kay. Because after my 39 years, and especially after the pandemic, after, we realized we actually could get products, because that's really the only time I've been scared of my Mary Kay business, is before we knew we could get products. Because if you have products, you can sell them, you can make money. But if all your income is coming from commissions, that's not a good place to be if you can't get any more product and no one else can. My daughter at that time was, well, 5 years ago, mid 50s, or mid 50s, mid 20s, had just bought her own home with the sales of Mary Kay product. And she had 6 months worth of retail product on her shelf as a business owner. That during the pandemic, if we couldn't get product, she could have floated her bills for 6 months. And we were taught how to be business owners, right, back in the day. And there's a huge difference between being a business owner and an order taker. A classic Mary Kay business owner and doing book, coach, sell, recruit the Mary Kay Ash way, even if you have a computer screen in between you, it's not classic or virtual. It's classic and virtual. Social media is a different animal. Virtual business is what we're doing right now. It's doing a skincare class, but you can see people's eyeballs. They can see your eyeballs, and your book, coaching, selling, and recruiting. But a classic Mary Kay business is profitable. You make money. Mary Kay Ash trained me. She always talked about the money you made. She wanted women to be paid what they're worth around the parties of God, family, career. It's also transferable. So, I mean, we used to say anyone can flip, squirt, and smile, but not everyone can figure out how to do TikTok or maybe social media, but you can do virtual business still. Everyone can do what they did in person and just put a Zoom screen up, right? So virtual business and social media are different. I've mastered virtual business because when it's your family's income, I didn't have a choice of saying, I don't even have a laptop. I'm sequestered in place in our, northeastern Michigan lake house. And, how I had to figure out how to do Zoom on a phone and still do free conference calls. But what I realized is that if I could do book, coach, sell, recruit, and other people could still transfer it to other people, I can still teach people how to build a Mary Kay business, and customers can still be serviced. So profitable, transferable, and sustainable. It's not just for this time period. Mary Kay Ash created a marketing plan that's been sustainable, and I believe it will continue to be so for those who are doing classic Mary Kay. And so some of you may have, I don't know, maybe felt less than if someone's referred to old school Mary Kay. Oh, you're old school. And I kind of got sick of hearing that, like, oh, that's old school Mary Kay. And was working with a couple nationals to build up nationals with a trainer. And he finally said, okay, I need all of you to stop saying that that's old, that's, old school Mary Kay, old fashioned Mary Kay. There's one way to build a Mary Kay business, and it's Mary Kay Ash's way. Has technology changed? Yes. Products changed? Yes. But the way to build a solid Mary Kay business, you guys, it hasn't changed. And I'm here to share with you that, the more you line up with that, connecting with people and having relationships so you have customers, now with Amazon and e-commerce, those are great tools. But if your customers know you and you've taken care of them, they're not going to go anywhere else to get their products. That's our secret sauce. And plugging into events so that you have that experience. I remember the first seminar I went to just like 8 weeks after I started. So posted a check, took out a credit card to get my start order, and then Debbie Moore. So my lineage is Mary Kay Ash. I went to her home for new director training. I was pregnant with my daughter Alden on my first top directors trip. Bermuda, I remember walking hand in hand. It was, I think, our 30th anniversary. Daleen White was my national. I spent much time with her. I have pictures with both my babies in diapers climbing all over her on St. Simon's. I'm not really sure why I did that. But then Debbie Moore and Kathy Hillou. And so looking back, I have this lineage, as you do, which has not only been a gift for me, but it's also a responsibility. You've probably heard the saying, to whom much is given, much is required. And those of us who have this lineage, we are the ones that need to be leading out front. And Mary Kay Ash always taught us 3 ways to lead: by example, and by example. And so we're going to be talking about this first 90 days. You may go, oh, that's basic stuff, but it's stuff that needs to be shored up to make sure you have a solid foundation for massive growth. Because if you do massive growth and don't have a solid foundation and aren't passing on the its that keep us sustainable, then it's a house built on sand. And we've all seen that in our Mary Kay businesses. We want to be leaders. Mary Kay never intended us to be managers. Also, I was always taught play to win. You're not playing not to lose. I've seen a lot of that since the pandemic, which is understandable. But I'm hoping after today, you're just like, I'm shaking this off. I'm not playing not to lose anymore. I am playing to win for all the right reasons. So my role in this is that I get to be your teacher, like passing the it's on, a mentor, a coach. But just know I'm like a college teacher. So I'm going to give you, between the boards and the assignments and what I share together today, it's like a syllabus. So remember when you went to college, you got a syllabus, and then you were responsible for reading that, buying the book, getting the book. All my resources are free. You're going to have access to all that. But then you had to show up at class. You had to have a set times that you were going to read and study. And then you had to come with things done, or you were going to fail the test and you're going to have to take the class again. And so this is going to be set up like that. I'm going to expect that you are going to pretend like you're getting a master's in your Mary Kay business, and you are going to have timeframes that you listen to. My boot camp is on my YouTube. You're going to have a link to it. It is how I train my daughter. My whole area is trained. Lots of Mary Kay national area in the United States is trained. 6 hours of training: book, coach, sell, recruit. How to get leads, how to get 5 avenues of leads, how to coach a hostess, pre-profile a hostess. All of it was done probably 30 years ago when I moved from Georgia to Michigan, and my husband was leaving a federal agent position of over a six-figure income, and that was 30 years ago. And I was paying our house payment that was triple of what it was in Georgia. And our kids' private Christian school was quadruple of what it was in Georgia. And so I knew we couldn't afford for my income to disappear. So I recorded all the things that were necessary to build a successful Mary Kay business that normally I did in person. And that's back before we did have cell phones, but they were like this big, mine connected to a pole in my pink Cadillac. And I had to get an 800 number for my people to call me, because after 9 o'clock at night was when people would wait to call, because it was less expensive, because it wasn't a toll call. Like, that's back in the day. And we didn't have the internet. We didn't have websites. You gave your customers to a new personal, because no one wanted their consultant across the country. There was no such thing as drop shipping like there is now. So those boot camp CDs right now, they're downloads. Like Mary Kay Ash taught us, you listen to a Mary Kay audio every day. We used to get one in every product order. And she'd say you have to listen to it 7 times to really catch all of it. So if there's 6 boot camps in this next, 6 months, I want you to listen to each of them at least 7 times. And directors, the same directive, because I want you brushing up and sharpening your consultant skills, because that's when you're the best. I'm the best when I'm training. And we're the best when we're training. And the boot camp skills are, once you know those and you're doing them with activity, because I'm also going to give you an activity challenge so that it's evaluated practice. Because if someone teaches you something, and honestly, I have a semi-photographic memory. And so high school and college, I really didn't learn very much, because if I saw something, I could excel on the test scores. It's not a good thing, really. Like, I should have learned more than I did. But in Mary Kay, you would do a perfect start and you're listening to the boot camp. Then you do a power start and you're listening to boot camp. So after every class, you're like, okay, that went good. I did a good job getting leads at this one, but this one, the next time I got to focus on getting bookings from bookings. And then, okay, that went good, but Mary Kay says there's a new consultant in every party. So, I didn't even talk about that at all. So I have to implement that. You guys, I think that listening to boot camp and doing a perfect start for a whole year, perfect start every month, and a perfect start's 25 to 30 faces. It's booking 8 parties to hold 5. Because you guys, a party's 5 to 6 people. Just because the company put 4 mirrors and trays into a starter kit because we want to keep it under $100, which I agree, doesn't mean that changed the numbers for a party. Because if you do that math, it doesn't math very well. Because a perfect start, 5 parties, book 8 to hold 5, not book one big one and then book rest of yours. Get on the phone. In the scripts that you're getting is going to be a perfect start script and then a power start script. And I'm a new consultant. And so it's going to sound very familiar to you. If you're a new consultant, perfect. If you're not, maybe you're going to say something like, I'm in an international, that sounds kind of cool, international leadership training program. And I need to get 30 people's opinions of the product this week or next. Which is better for you? And booking 8 parties all in one time sitting. You highlight your date book the 8 parties, knowing that 1 to 3 will cancel. You hold 5, you have a perfect start. It's 25 to 30 faces. From those, then you book 5 to 10 more parties, and that's a power start. So a power start is then 50 to 60 faces. When I started Mary Kay, you had a choice of doing this in 1 week or 2. Which was better for you. When I started so that was in 86. But when Mary Kay started this, they had 1 week to do it. You booked 8 to hold 5 in your first week. That was your option, whether you worked another job or not. And so then by the time I started in 86, it was up to 2 weeks. And then somehow we got to 30 faces in a month is a power start. And so then we wondered why it was hard for consultant directors to keep cars and units, because you're not seeing enough faces. It's not Mary Kay math. And so while you're doing a perfect start, if you choose to do that pace, 5 parties a month, very part-time job, you have 8 new skincare customers a month, at least. That's 100 a year. That's your first goal as a consultant. get 100 skincare customers. Out of that, you're going to have at least a red jacket, probably a DIQ team. The reorder business on skincare. Skincare is where brand loyalty is, and that's your bread and butter. That's the focus. I can tell how sustainable a director's unit is by how many skincare customers her consultants have. And if only 2% on average of consultants choose to be and do the work to be a director, as a director, you want to build a unit that the 98% has a skincare customer base. That gives you sustainability and profitability and flexibility too, so that your business, as it grows, you have more flexibility with life versus less. So a perfect start, listening to boot camp for a year, and you're going to own those skills. If you choose to do a power start in 6 months, which could be this 6 months, 10 parties, and you guys can get creative, have 2 or 3 parties at the same time. I know people that do super Saturdays and, get it all done, 50, 60 faces all on one Saturday, because that's what their life needs and looks like. But if you do that and listen to boot camp for 6 months, you will own those skills. And once you own these skills and you have flow in your business, this business is easy. It really, really is. So I was thinking about, as I was getting ready for this, we have a lake house up in northeastern Michigan on Lake Huron, on a Hubbard Lake, and then Lake Huron's 10 miles away. But if we go right across the bay, we're in Georgian Bay. In Detroit, I'm probably 10, 15 minutes from Detroit. Actually, growing up in Metro Detroit, we thought Windsor was a suburb of Detroit, for sure. We were there all the time. But this lake house is about 63 years old. And it was my in-laws until it was ours. And my father-in-law, if he could fix something with duct tape and what was the other thing he loved? Indoor outdoor carpeting. He would do it. And so we have this back porch, but our property starts with streams and then comes down. And the lake, actually, you have to walk like 12 stairs down through the lake, the boathouse, to get to the water. So it's all a downward flow. So my in-laws would have flooding. They would have, indoor outdoor carpeting. Imagine it in most of Canada. It's like moldy. It's not the best. But we knew that the foundation wasn't okay. Like, it was crumbling, but we were pretending it was okay. We'd put prettier flowers on the porch, and we'd, do other landscaping out in front of it to detract from the indoor outdoor carpeting on that porch. But the fact of the matter is the foundation was ruined. And no matter what we did, it wasn't going to prevent floods. It wasn't going to stand the test of time. And we honestly, procrastinated as long as we could. Luckily, we didn't have a flood. We've renovated the whole inside of the house, and we're like, okay, we have to do it now because we just did all this renovation. We don't want it ruined. But you guys, we do that a lot of times with our Mary Kay business. We don't want to look at the foundational things, and we're fixing all this other stuff that's really more decor or temporary, like a limited edition line or, fill in the blank, versus the foundation. And in Mary Kay, what I've loved a lot about this business, but one thing in particular is that once I got my foundation set, and I knew how to book, coach, sell, recruit. I could recruit and sell and get referrals all from my skincare classes. And your business becomes easy then. That the only thing I'd have to do when I wanted to make more money, or if I needed to make more money, or if I, wanted to move up the career path or needed to move up the career path, or felt like I was being called to move up the career path, then I just did more of what I already knew how to do. It wasn't hard. It just was more faces, being taught how to take care of their skin, cleanse, exfoliate, tone, moisture balance, protect. Now you can do that in 2 or 3 steps or 20 steps. But this business really is not difficult unless we make it that. So it's messy. It's been messy digging that all up. Right now, it is a big, my 2-year-old grandson says, messy mess. There's mud everywhere, dirt. But it's got to get done because it could snow by Halloween there. So, what I'm asking for you guys to do is be willing to reset the foundation of your Mary Kay business in this next 90 days. And I'm going to give you the assignment for that. But something I also want you to embrace and remember during the pandemic, my family sheltered in place up at the lake house. And that time period that I was freaking out before we knew we could get products, I'm like, my family's income depends on this income. And so it's going to be the Titanic pretty darn fast if there's $0 coming in. And so what God reminded me of is that I was a pioneer. When I started this in the mid 80s, people didn't get out of the University of Michigan Business School and go into direct sales. My family and friends thought I had lost my mind. But I met Debbie Moore and said, I want your job. That's the only way I'll do it. And she said, come on, I'll give it to you. And she has. She's never led me astray. As I know, your directors will never lead you astray. But he reminded me when I was in Arizona and half the people only spoke Spanish. And I was, 23-year-old blonde coming into the Mexican border for my husband's job. I did Queens Court of Sales and earned my first car. And then when we moved to St. Simons Island, Georgia, there was not one single person doing Mary Kay there except for a director who said she didn't do meetings or recruit there because the town was too small. And I realized I just been in a town a lot smaller and more people understood me in southeastern Georgia than they did in Douglas, Arizona. I've worked in Canada, I've worked in Mexico, but it reminded me that Mary Kay Ash was a pioneer. We have pioneering DNA. Like I started off sharing, you guys have pioneering DNA. Mary Kay started this when most women were retiring. Most women weren't even working. She did this so that we had this opportunity. Even when her husband died and the accountant and attorney, wow, that's a pioneer. Her accountant and attorney are telling a woman who's retired, you shouldn't do this. You will have no money. What about when her sales force took the formulas and started beauty control? And half of the directors I read stood up at that directors meeting and walked out. Mary Kay carried on. She was a pioneer. She believed in this opportunity so wholeheartedly of why this company needed to be started because there was a need for women that she found a solution for. Some of you may have read this book before, Visioneering by Andy Stanley. Quite a few nationals and directors have been working on it in the States over this last year. You can order it. You can go on my YouTube channel. There's a playlist called Visioneering, and 24 nationals, we got together. It's somewhere in there, 12 to 24. And we did a workshop on the beginning of July for this seminar year, Visioneering, for directors, a workshop, and for consultants. You can get the cliff notes for Visioneering from a Mary Kay perspective from the national sales directors. And then some directors have been going through chapter by chapter because Mary Kay had vision. And since COVID, I've seen a lot of people, they're playing not to lose or just to get by versus like going for a vision. Nehemiah, there was a broken down wall in his hometown. And he's like, once he, had got the resources to go and fix that wall, he said, people tried to detract him. This is not a good idea, trying to discourage him. And he's like, I'm not coming down. I have a wall to build and I am not coming down until this wall is built. And that's who Mary Kay Ash was. That's who I've become by being trained by those women. And that is your family lineage. Like that's the it that you need to be passing on to the next generation, that this does work and I am building this wall and I am not coming down. I am not going to be distracted. Nehemiah wasn't distracted. He was working and fighting. He was working and protecting. And right now, I think that the greatest danger in our Mary Kay business and for our future is that we live in the age of distraction. And there's lots of distractions in our business. There's lots of distractions in life in our and in our world. But in Mary Kay, as long as I can get products at cost, whatever else the company's doing, I trust that it's in our best interest because I don't know all the things they do. And they don't know all the things that I do. Mary Kay created this so you have two lanes that work together and we're not competitive. We complement each other and we need each other. So this brushing up on your visioneering may be helpful to remind everyone, God's given everyone a dream. And if you're on this call, it's connected with your Mary Kay business for sure. So it's Nehemiah, if you want to look it up, 6:3. I am doing a great work and I cannot get down. So let's talk about where we're going to start. So where we're going to start is the start. And so I'm going to encourage you, you're going to see this on the board, but also you're going to have access to I have a Facebook. It's just a business page, so I don't have any friends. So you can message me on there, but I don't see anyone else's stuff. And that's a good thing because I don't have the capacity to be coaching someone who tells me they desperately need this and want this, but they don't have any money or time. And then I see on Facebook what they're doing with their money and time. If that makes you crazy, maybe you should get off that too and focus on, I love Kathy Halou. She said Mary Kay created the original Facebook. But we're going to start at the beginning. I want you guys to listen to my welcome call. Directors too, consultants and directors. I want you to listen to the welcome orientation. And then I want you to listen to the business strategies. And then you're going to use the script for the perfect start, and you're going to book 8 parties to hold 5. And if you are seasoned, pick your sharpest hostesses, your best customers. If you're new, that's your list of 20 people who have skin. So the assignment is going to be from now, 10/22. So those who already have bookings are going to be excited, to 11/19 is going to book a perfect start, because a perfect start then will turn into a power start. But if you only want to do a perfect start in the 30 days, that's absolutely fine. 5 parties in 30 days, fine. If you want to do 10, then that's even better. It's going to depend on, for directors' leadership goals, consultants who want to be with us at leadership. The bigger the gap is between where you're at now and what you're on target for and what God laid on your heart at Seminar 2025, and then the more parties you need to do. So a perfect start or a power start by the 19th. So before, well, it's Thanksgiving here. So I guess maybe it's not Thanksgiving there. So maybe you guys don't have to worry about Thanksgiving. People aren't going to take a whole month to cook a turkey, like some say they do in the United States in November. But also your pearls of sharing. Pearls of sharing, 15 women doing practice interviews. There's also a script in there. And you guys, the people that I want you to look for, this is going to be on the board also. Characteristics. It's characteristics. Who am I looking for? And I want you guys, after you get off of this, you're going to make your list of your 20 people who have skin. Who are you? Look at the scripts, highlight your date book. When are you going to be booking these? Just like, remember, we're getting a master's. You're scheduling time to be a student, and you're scheduling a time to go to class and to take tests. I know women who get masters. It takes them 3 years, and they spend 20 to 30 hours a week for 3 years, and maybe they get a cost of living raise, or maybe they just get to keep their job. If you will do this for 6 months, I guarantee you this is going to serve you very well, and you are going to be rewarded financially well. But this is who I'm looking for, and I want you guys to think about this, because Mary Kay started with 9 women. And then I've heard a story from a very reliable source that she told those 9 women, I need you to go out and find the 100 most prestigious women in the community to start this company with us. You guys, that's a far cry from a $35 e-start and a $225 or a 30% order. Gigantic difference. That changes almost everything. We're going to talk more about recruiting and team building in the next session. But with your pearls of sharing, you're going to already be brushing up on skills. But the people I want you to look for, I want you to think of, you all either started this business so you knew enough about it to say yes, or you're a seasoned consultant or director. Write down characteristics of the women who do well in Mary Kay, because then you can share that at all your appointments. This is who I'm looking for. Because if they have those characteristics, their friends start telling on them, or they lean in, like I did at that success meeting. I leaned in. And this is my list. She's willing to do something different to get something different. She can navigate life well. She's not a victim of time. I'm too busy, or season of life. It's graduation, or season on the calendar. We're cooking a turkey, or people, or money. She's not a victim of any of those. She likes to grow. learn, and be transformed. She's a lifelong learner. She embraces or is comfortable or at least non antagonistic with our God family career culture. She's a cheerleader of underdogs versus victims. So she likes women's ministry, service minded teachers, nurses, washing faces versus feet. She has a leadership mentality versus management. And I already shared Mary Kay Ash's 3 ways to lead: by example, by example, by example. You're leading a marching band and seeing who follows you versus turning around. Management is turning around in the orchestra pit and managing. She desires for her life to matter, legacy minded. Giant, she has a giant within that she has not found a vehicle for it to come out yet. She's no longer willing to simply exchange time for money. That's who I want you to ask to be hostesses. That's who I want you to ask to do your practice interviews with, because that's what the Mary Kay brand needs, those women. Plenty of people will recruit people who need Mary Kay, but I want this team to headhunt and versus crowd hunt, because that's what's going to take our business forward. When I started this, I wasn't starting for a side hustle. If someone would have said, I'm making 30% profit and didn't tell me about the whole big picture in Mary Kay, what was possible, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And my life would be very, very different. Very different. My kids' life, my husband's life, I would sit here and sob if I thought about it for very long. We're going to be working on sharing the whole big Mary Kay picture. And if she doesn't want that, then of course she can do less. Of course she could, just do virtual or social media. Of course she could just do, e-commerce. That's absolutely fine. But people are sharing those opportunities, not the whole big Mary Kay picture, because you don't want to scare anyone off because you're playing not to lose versus playing to win. And you know who we've been losing lately? Potential level 10 leaders in the sales force. We need nationals and top directors in Mary Kay. We need women to pass this baton on and choose to use their gifts and talents here. And you guys are the ones that are going to find them because you know what they look like. So that is 10/22 to 11/19. Perfect start or power start, listening to your boot camp, and your pearls of sharing, directors and consultants. And I want directors to do this also because I heard a statistic that the Mary Kay National area, you're 70% of Queen's Court of Sales. But I need that not just to be 70%, I need your stats higher because I need the new faces in. Because the new faces are where the bees come from. You're only 30% of the court of recruiting. And what I have found is that when the going gets tough, if you don't like where you're at in your Mary Kay business and your best hasn't been good enough, the tough in Mary Kay get a B. And a real B, not a re-B, a real B. Doing the 4-point recruiting plan, doing the practice interviews with those women. Directors, the only thing I'm going to add on for you is I want you to look at your unit size. And if you're in DIQ, you're looking at your unit size. I could ask any DIQ on here of the ones that were recognized, and you could tell me how many active people you have and how much more production you need. You know it every minute. You live it, you breathe it. Directors, I want you to go back to living and breathing unit size during this 6-month time period, because production follows people. Also, the cream will rise. Versus having smaller units and getting frustrated. First off, it may be how they were onboarded or recruited, but the numbers, there's numbers is the number one thing that we're going to work at changing, because you can do that immediately. It doesn't take different skill. You have all the scripts and everything you need to do these numbers with. But directors, I want you to look at October 1st, what was your unit size? And by the end of December, so by January 1st, you have at least 25 additional unit members. So that could be N1s, N2s through I3s. That counts towards your unit size, just not Ts. And then I'm going to ask the directors for the next 3 months to do that again with 25 plus from January. So this means you're beating attrition and growing by 25. But you guys already did that. That's DIQ. And you didn't even know what you were doing in DIQ. And you made it happen. So I'm just asking you to do the recruiting because you're working yourself through these new faces and your pearls of sharing, which is at least 3 pearls of sharing, 15. should be at least 3 new team members. So consultants who are doing pearls of sharing each of these 3 months should have at least 9. But consultants, I would get into DIQ. I would be going to leadership in Nashville, and I have those dates on the board also. But this is what I'm encouraging my people to look at for Nashville. You may not be sure that you want to be a director or not, but when I was in business school, we had really good internships every summer because they wanted us to get a feel for these different fields that we were being educated for. And I was glad I did it because by the end of every summer, I changed my major. And so look at Nashville as an internship. And you can't call it that. That's not, we're not employees. So, do know that it's not really an internship. You get your 8 active people and go to Nashville. Buy your plane ticket now. Have some skin in the game. And when you're at leadership, you're going to see the likes of Lisa Matson. I just heard that she is going to be recognized as the #1 earner in Mary Kay of all times. Wow. And even if I heard that from a reliable source, but even if that isn't totally accurate, leadership is where you see the legends retire. That's how you get to now seat at the feet of the Mary Kay Ashes of today. And so if you go home and decide, I don't really think I want to be a director, you're going to be an amazing recruiter for Mary Kay. You're going to be able to share this opportunity. You've met the top people from corporate who make our products, ask them all the questions. You're going to see the top people educating and speaking to you. And you guys, we have to get past this time that we don't recruit unless we want something. That's so selfish. Mary Kay taught us, you book, coach, sell, recruit together. It's like 2 oars of the boat. If you feel like you're moving in a circle, maybe you are. You're just selling or you're just recruiting. It's not moving you forward. And so if you choose not to, your director will be happy to train those people. And you have a really nice 13% check. My 13% check for my team, gosh, it could be $1,000, $2,000 or more. As a consultant, you could have that. But then if you decide you want to be a director, you're going to be debuting on that seminar stage. And, honestly, if you right now, directors, I want you to decide how many DIQs you're going to have with you. And it may not be the people that are in your unit now. How many new people are you going to bring in? And they're going to be DIQs. Because if Diana Polanco, that's the record that hasn't been broken yet, when she started her Mary Kay business, 22 months from when she signed her agreement, I believe. And again, sometimes legends, you hear legends and it's not totally accurate, but it's around there. 22 months went from consultant to national sales director. She's an inner circle national now. But I can guarantee you she wasn't at her parties recruiting people to do $35 e-starts and getting their stuff at cost. And the recruiting was not a closing set for the skincare class. That wasn't the Mary Kay she was building. She was looking for leaders. This is what Mary Kay offers. This is the brand and the mission you'll be part of. This is who I'm looking for. Who do you know? Oh, you? Okay, great. We'll be talking after. I can't wait. 22 directors in 22 months. And that was before this technology. Consultants, you could be brand new on here and you could be her in Canada. Like records were made to be broken and it can happen faster. But the only reason Diana Polanco did this because she believed she could. And she started to ask for directors right from the very beginning. So directors, how many DIQs are you going to have with you? If your best hasn't been good enough, and it doesn't matter what's happened to other directors and consultants, maybe you don't even have one person on your team, but you could be a director by January 1st yourself, depending on how long you've been in, and if you're in DIQ, and you could have DIQs with you, or at least by like career conference or seminar. So that is the assignment for the first month. And then we'll have from 11/19, and I've given you guys the scripts, and please use the scripts. Unless you're seasoned and you guys already have your scripts for booking and setting up interviews, fine. But if you don't yet get company average results, please use the scripts that are given. So by 11/19, if you haven't done your pearls of sharing and your perfect start or power start, then the assignment is do it again. Because literally, you guys, we're going to do this till we do this, because this is the foundation that we want to get set up so that when we're back together in January, you guys are like, okay, this is easy. I have tons of appointments in my books. I have hostesses to ask. I have all these referrals. I have momentum. I'm working with sharp people. Like your business, it breathes life into you. It doesn't not have to be hard. That's Mary Kay set it up. But Daleen White said you had to pump the pump probably 20 times until the water comes out of the ground. And then you can just keep it going with your finger. And I'm never going to tell people like this business is easy, meaning you don't have to work, because that's not true. Nothing that's valuable to have in life is, you don't have to work for. But it is simple. Staying undistracted and unoffended is the trick. So from the 19th of November to December 17th, you either are doing the original assignment, Perfect Start, Power Star, Pearls. Once you get that done, then I'm going to have you go transfer to team 30, 50, or 100. And those are on my board. And the reason I came up with the teams is that during the pandemic, I saw people, once they got over the shock that they had to figure out how to use a computer screen to do their business, they started just selling stuff and throwing stuff out there, which was fine. Like selling something was better than nothing, right? But then I realized it has to be skincare. We have to be teaching skincare because that's the sustainability of a consultant's business and thus a director's business and income. So then we started to look at how many new skincare customers you were getting. So for team 30 faces, a third should be buying skincare. And if they're not, we need to work on skill or target market. And then they also should have 3 recruits. 1/10 should be recruiting. If not, they're not doing the 4-part recruiting plan and they're not doing practice interviews. So look at that, team 30, 50, or 100. 100 is 5 parties a week. Team 30 is like 8 parties a month, and team 50 is probably 2 to 3 parties a week on average. None of these are any bigger than Mary Kay Ash's rules of the game that she started the company on. So you guys, we're going to continue to do this, and this is going to take us to January, and we're restarting your Mary Kay business, but we're restarting it smarter, wiser, more focused, more energetic, and more positively expectant. Because people do want a personal beauty consultant. They do want customer service. They do want our fabulous products. They do love our brand. They love supporting a company with a mission. We are in the right place at the right time, and you are the right lineage at the right time. We just need to go. And so I hope that this is encouraging for you. I hope that you are excited about this challenge and digging in. And anyone who finishes the 3-month challenge, so that means you're doing Perfect Start or Power Start and Pearls the first 30 days from now. And then if you have done that, then either team 30, 50, or 100 the next month, and team 30, 50, and 100 the next month. No, the months are broken up because I'm starting from the middle of the month. Find me at leadership and I'll have a gift for you for sure. But you guys, I am looking forward to this process. If there's topics or questions, please get them to me or to Sunita. I'm happy. I want to make sure by the end of this, everyone gets exactly what they needed for exactly what God's called you to, because you're in Mary Kay very purposefully during this season, I believe. And I'm honored that I get to go on this journey with you. And so thank you for joining us today.